Army Cadet 1-star training, navigation. Ispec 5, estimating distance on the ground using grid squares and 4-figure grid references. Navigation revision. What is the definition of a map symbol? Small pictures or letters used on a map that represent features on the ground. What is a collecting feature? A feature on the ground and on the map that will confirm if you're on the correct route as you pass it. What is a catching feature? A feature on the ground and on the map that will alert you if you've taken a wrong turn, missed a turn, or walked past your destination. What are the two main map scales you will use? 1 to 50,000 and 1 to 25,000. Which scale will show you the most detail? 1 to 25,000. This lesson, Ispec 5, estimating distance using grid squares and 4-figure grid references. Aim. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to estimate distances covered while walking by using grid squares. You will also be able to identify locations on a map a lot quicker and easier by using 4-figure grid references. Introduction. Ordnance survey and military maps have a grid made up of faint lines drawn over them. This grid can help us to work out distances between locations and allow us to quickly and easily identify areas on the map. Estimating distance. Grid squares on maps represent 1 kilometre square on the ground, meaning that if you walked a straight line between two locations that were 1 grid square apart on a map, you would have walked 1 kilometre. Walking diagonally from corner to corner of a grid square is approximately 1.5 kilometres. Grid squares always represent the same distance on the ground, but the size of the squares changes depending on the scale of the map. Map scale 1 to 50,000. Grid square size 2 centimetres by 2 centimetres. Area covered 1 kilometre by 1 kilometre or 1.5 kilometres diagonally. Map scale 1 to 25,000. Grid square size 4 centimetres by 4 centimetres. The area covered is the same though at 1 kilometre by 1 kilometre or 1.5 kilometres diagonally. Looking at the same map we used in the last lesson, we can now apply a grid over the top. Knowing how big our grid squares are now helps us work out the distances between locations. How far apart do you think these locations are? You can pause the video and work on this and unpause when you have answers. Number 1. Telephone to information point. 1 kilometre. Nature reserve to parking. 2 kilometres. Campsite to picnic area. 1.5 kilometres. Information to parking. 0.5 kilometres or 500 metres. Parking to viewpoint using paths. 3.5 kilometres. Parking to bus coach station. 0.25 kilometres or 250 metres. Historic building to nature reserve. 3 kilometres. All of these are approximate. 4-figure grid references. To help us easily find specific locations on a map, grid squares are numbered. Grid squares are made up of 2 numbers. Eastings are long numbers and northings, up numbers. To find the location of the red dot, we need a 4-figure grid reference. First, find the easting, a long number. It's not in 0 to 1, it's not in 1 to 2, it's not in 2 to 3, it's in 3 to 4. This means our first 2 figures are 0, 3. Next, find the northing up number. It's not in 0 to 1, it's not in 1 to 2, but it's in 2 to 3. Our second two numbers are 0, 2. Combine these numbers to create a four-figure grid reference. The red dot is at grid reference 0302. Find four-figure grid references for the following locations. You can pause the video, write your answers and then unpause when you're ready. The battle site is 0100. The bus coach station is 0203. Historic building 0002. Viewpoint 0200. Telephone 0003. The campsite 0000, and both footbridges are 0101 and 0302. Summary. Grid squares are very simple to use but can be extremely useful. Using them to judge distance can help when planning a route so you don't attempt to walk too far without knowing what you're up against. It can also help to work out how long you will take as well. Four-figure grid references are great for indicating specific locations on a map to others, especially if you're in danger during a walk and need assistance. Practice and confirmation. On a printed map in centimetres, how big are grid squares on a 1 to 50,000 scale map? 2 centimetres by 2 centimetres. On a printed map in centimetres, how big are grid squares on a 1 to 25,000 scale map? 4 centimetres by 4 centimetres. How much ground does a grid square cover on a 1 to 50,000 and 1 to 25,000 scale map? 1 kilometre by 1 kilometre, or 1.5 kilometres diagonally. What are along numbers called when working out a grid reference? Eastings. What are up numbers called when working out a grid reference? Northings. To work out a grid reference, do you use eastings then northings or northings then eastings? Eastings then northings. The way to remember this is to say along the corridor then up the stairs.